And we should be live here.
Are we live?
To the SalesSLAP podcast, where we hit you with the hard truths, bold strategies, and expert insights you need to master the art of selling. And who's leading the charge? Meet your hosts, Rick Denley, Simon Hares, and Scott Donald. Get ready for real talk, expert advice, and game-changing strategies. Because in sales, you don't just play, you slap. Let's dive in.
Hey everyone, our guest today loves sales. Before launching his own firm, he was the top producing salesperson in 3 companies. Today, he's a consultant, coach, speaker, and author whose specialties are new business development and sales leadership. His passion is helping companies and salespeople win more new sales. His name's Mike Weinberg, and he's spoken on 5 continents and is the author of 4 Amazon #1 best-selling books. Mike is a native New Yorker and sales truth teller who's lived in St. Louis for 30 years. Did I say that right? He has 3 young adult children and is often told that his wife, Katie, is still the best proof that he really can sell. So everyone, please welcome to the show, Mike Weinberg. Mike, how are you?
Oh my gosh. What am I doing with these 3 people in this meeting? That's what I want to know.
Well, you know what?
Knuckleheads.
You're just fortunate. That's all. What did you call us earlier? We don't mind putting it on the air.
I motley, eclectic group of knuckleheads or something, some version of that. What
I
a
love
treat.
that.
What a treat.
It's been called worse. So
I have been called worse. I have been called worse by better, as a matter of fact.
What a fun opportunity this is to visit with you guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks
and I
for
love
being
the
on.
little,
This is
the
awesome.
little pre-music for your show. That was serious.
So exciting to have you on this show. And you are our last guest in 2025. And we've had a great run of guests.
Take us home.
Yeah, so it's great to have you here. And Simon, I know you're having a little technology issue there, but we appreciate you because it's really Simon that connected us with Mike. Correct, Scott? Is that how that all came
Yeah,
out?
you know what? I thought we had something going as a group here, but really Simon has really established himself as being the guy that makes this show go, the glue guy himself.
Scott, I was pretty public that I was doing this because Simon was part of it. So let's just be very clear. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's hurtful, but I get it.
My affection for you is real, but my respect for Simon is through the roof.
Yeah, me too. Actually, we're on the Simon.
We're on the same
I will take respect over affection.
Simon,
Those of you that can't hear Simon, the Brexit has caused some kind of outage in the UK for internet service, and he's got a couple, tin cans with a strike.
And I want people to realize that. So there's a chat going here because Simon's internet's failing, and it goes, Simon Harris, I love you, Mike. I am your real friend, and then Mike, I love you too, Simon, and then he goes. Yes. Okay, so can I kick us off, Rick? Because I've got a couple of questions here, and Simon's being really disruptive. So I want to ask my questions before I forget, because I'm almost
get us started and ramped up, and let's go. I want to hear from Mike.
Has a serious tone to it. Let's go.
So, as people know, I've read 3 of Mike's books. I'm a big fan of a lot of what he does, and recently you've done a couple of things that I was listening in on, and one of them was, I'm reading here, the most jam-packed 30-minute audiobook summary ever. And there's a bunch of stuff that you said in there that I thought was really impactful, but there was 2 in particular that stood out for me: the no easy button for sales and the mastery of the fundamentals. And I guess my question to you is, it feels almost sort of ironic that as we gain more insight and more experience in sales, it's not the secret tactics or the magic easy button, but it is those basics and those fundamentals. And why are organizations struggling with these basics and these fundamentals as they try to create this all important revenue for their organizations?
I think it's the human condition. It's FOMO. We always looking for something simpler, cooler. It's me at golf. I'd much rather watch YouTube videos of the coolest, latest new golf driver that's been released than sit on the couch and work on my grip, or actually go take a lesson from someone who can put me on video and show me my swing sins, and then actually have to do the hard work to fix it. It's much more fun to shop for a tool, and it's the same in sales. And what's crazy too, I'll address this to you, Scott, because you asked it. Salespeople are no better today they're not achieving quota at any higher percent than at any time in the past. In fact, we could argue it's probably harder, it's worse or worser, as I like to say sometimes. So clearly the proliferation, that's a tough word for me, of tools and all the FOMO and all the data and all the techniques, and I just did a free web session for sales leaders. I was celebrating the 10th anniversary of the book, and I did that one episode that you listened to where I did the summary of the book, and then last week I did this free session as a thank you to sales leaders.
I was on that one too.
Okay, and I went through some pretty darn blunt observations about fads versus fundamentals, and it's really the genesis of kind of where your question's coming from. These fads come and go. I mean, I didn't name the names, but I did enough picture painting in that session to talk about where's the woman who named her firm #social selling, like was all the rage for like 2 years, or the guy who was the pioneer of social selling, or the firms that call themselves the leader in digital sales transformation. They're all gone. All the Johnny come lately bandwagon jumper flavor of the day fad, they're gone. And the people who, like us in this room, who are preaching the fundamentals that work every day are the ones who are here helping people drive more sales and lead better. And there's no shortcut to sales management, and there's no shortcut to selling.
Yep.
But it's I think my long answer to a simple question was, it's our human condition. We're always looking for the fad diet, the hottest golf club, or the coolest little sales tool that's going to fix everything. And it's bogus. It's a lie. It's a marketing creation, and it's funded by a lot of venture capital people that are trying to make some tool provider worth a lot of money. And that's not the answer, unfortunately.
No, that's really great, Mike. Thanks. I know one of the consistent trainers in our industry, top notch, is right with us here today with Simon, and he often really trains some of these consistent factors that are so important. Simon, what do you want to say to Mike today and ask him?
Well, Mike, we've known each other a while, but we haven't really spoken apart from little bits and pieces. Yeah. But you did mention my steps of the sale in my previous house, which was a big thing for reviewing sales books. And your books have always been top of the pile for me, especially one particular one, which was Sales Truth. And Sales Truth really cut through all of the kind of the bullshit that's out there for me, because after years and years of selling and still selling, there are so many people out there that, like you say, are looking for this magic bullet, this silver bullet that will help them sell better. And they're so resistant to hear that actually the things that you were trained in at the very beginning are the very things that will carry you right now. And all of these fads and trends that you talk about, God knows we've seen so many of them. My favorite was consultative selling, which is where we forgot to sell because we became everyone's best friend and then wondered why we weren't hitting our targets. And it was just, it was complete crap. It really was. But I think as we think about managing salespeople these days, from your perspective, Mike, if people are going into 2026 thinking about going into managing salespeople, what would be your advice to them right now be, apart from buying, Sales Management Simplified, of course?
Of course. First of all, part of the reason I love you is because you are one of the 19 people on planet Earth that read the book Sales Truth. I have 4 books, 3 of which sell regularly. And the 4th one, I think it's my best written, but it's just not very popular. So I want to personally thank you, Simon, for reading Sales Truth.
I love it. But you know what? I would have it with me, but I've given it to a client to look at at the moment. I gave it to them last week.
I appreciate that. I think it's my favorite of my books, but it's the least read. So I'll share
that knowledge. So.
Sales management, it's the lost art. And I swear I'm not trying to be funny or self-deprecating when I say this. Like, do you know how much less business I would have if senior executives really had an understanding of what the sales managers are supposed to do? Like, part of the craziest thing that I've observed, and it's worse than ever now. I thought maybe coming out of COVID, and as I say that, I have a friend or two with COVID right now, but like, I don't even know what that means. Post-COVID, I thought, oh, this will lighten up. There'll be less emails. There'll be less virtual meetings. There'll be less flavor of the day initiatives coming out of the C-suite. Au contraire. No, there's more meetings, more emails, more flavor of the day initiatives being fed down. And so many people have lost sight of the primary high payoff activities, particularly of the frontline sales manager, the person who's leading the team. So if a sales manager came to me and to sit down and have a coffee or a slightly warm, slightly undercarbonated lager in your country. I would say, remember this: the two, aside from who you have on your team, because picking your talent is obviously critical, but if your team is set and it looks like everyone you have is a keeper, the two levers you have to push and pull every day to drive your culture and to drive sales results are accountability. That's job one, making sure that they're doing their job, and without micromanaging or demotivating, but doing good results, pipeline, and then activity focused accountability. And then job 1A is coaching, helping your people get better at their job. Right. And if sales managers could cut out the noise and the garbage and the nonstop spreadsheets from the CFO and the nonstop instructions from the enablement people and the nonstop program changes from the marketing people and all the virtual sessions being called by some senior executive, and they could actually get with their people, which is what drives results, because we're managing humans, we're leading humans who connect and succeed by relating to other humans and influencing them to make good decisions to buy from us.
There it is.
If we would hold them accountable and we get alongside them and watch them work and give them feedback and prepare them for meetings and then give them coaching afterwards and help them with deals and skills and life, how much more sales would there be?
Yeah.
That's a clip that I'm going to use, Mike. That's a clip.
Hello.
Listen, here's what I need. Scotty, let me ask him this one because it dovetails in so nicely to what you just mentioned. Mike, in the First Time Manager book, you emphasize the critical mindset shift from individual contributor to team leader, which is a tough one for a lot of people to make. What do you see as the biggest leadership blind spot for new managers making that leap, and how can they overcome it? Because that's a challenge that a lot of people have, moving from that contributor into leadership role.
That is such a loaded question you're asking there, Rick.
Good job, Rick.
And here's the thing, and no one tells you this. Like, no one told me this. And, you know, I had a lot of success as a salesperson, and then I had success as a coach and a consultant. I had never led a team. I had never been an executive or manager. And I took over this big job as head of sales of this $200 million company. And then I was directly managing one of the small sales teams. I was freaking awful because nobody told me that the job of sales leader has nothing to do with the job of seller. Except for the word sales, they're complete opposites. And my biggest pivot is one you just about articulated. I didn't really understand the concept of winning through my people. When you're a top performing individual contributor, IC, as we like to say, well, what are you good at? You're good at winning on your own. You're good at driving. You're good at being selfish. It's even okay if your ego is a little inflated. Nobody minds a salesperson with a little bit of swagger and ego. But if you bring that high ego into the sales manager role, and you're stealing the credit from your people and you're putting your fingerprints on everything, and even the way you run team meetings or the way you announce results, not helpful, not good for the culture, not good for morale. And I couldn't adapt quickly enough. It took me so long to understand. I don't need people to be little mini Mikes and sell like me. I need to work through them and help them become winners, right? And one of the concepts I teach a lot about is not being the hero on the team, but becoming the person who's focused on making your people into heroes, which means we're leading and we're coaching and we're holding sellers accountable, but we're not doing their jobs for them. And that is the massive pivot I try to address in the First Time Manager Sales, is the wake-up call early on in that book that your new job is nothing like your old job. And by the way, your new job is the most important job in the revenue function. You're the multiplier. When we get sales management right, everything changes. And that's why I changed my business. I do so little sales training now, except for sales kickoff season where I'm doing kickoff stuff. I do so little sales training compared to the percent of time that I'm helping execs or managers increase sales management effectiveness. With what? Accountability and coaching and winning through our people. And that's what the key is. So that's the pivot that I really struggled with. And as I see a lot of top salespeople evaluating whether to move into management, one of the things I always challenge them with is, are you comfortable like subduing your own ego and not needing the spotlight? Are you okay with platforming your people and winning through them and seeing them get the glory and the credit? Because that's a really big shift. Platforming
your people. Great statement there. Thank you for sharing that for the leadership folks out there. That's brilliant. Gentlemen, what else do we have for Mike following up on that?
I think there's an element where when we think about leaving the ego at the door, we need to always remember that we need to make our people look good and they will make us look good without even trying, as long as our focus is on them first. And you know, you talk about all of these voices that are out there that make up so much noise around a sales manager's head or even a salesperson's head. And a lot of these voices that are making noise around us have either never been in sales or never actually been in contact with a customer. And yet somehow they feel that they are equipped to be able to tell us how to do our job. And yet you never see that really going the other way. It's quite interesting, because the minute that revenue is down, then it's really easy to blame the sales teams to be able to do that. And sales leaders really do have to be resilient in being able to protect their sales teams from all of that noise and to keep those people away from them, and in also to try and keep them away from them as well, because it's a completely different beast. And moving into 2026, I nearly said 2016 there. I was a decade away in my head. What's going on there? Gee, what was that all about?
You're in holiday mode almost, Simon.
No, I'm not in holiday mode. I genuinely not. It goes as deep as this sweater, and then the damn thing comes off. It really does. I must have been in that 2016 BC before COVID period. Must have been.
Wow, that's great, Scott.
I mean, I don't even want to comment on what you just said. I just think the listener, as people who are watching the recording of this, should go back and replay your last 90 seconds.
Yeah.
My answer is yes. And I'm going to get in some trouble because you triggered me, and I'm going to say something that's not nice.
Yeah.
Please do. Come on.
And the first time I said this publicly was about a week ago in that web session. I have an observation that this whole thing with chief revenue officers who put GTM after their name, and this whole go-to-market thing, it makes me a little nauseous, if I could be honest. And I've done consulting and training in companies where the CRO fancies himself or herself as much more of a marketer and a strategist, because that's, you know, the way the role is described, not as the executive vice president over sales. And I have been around a lot of people with the CRO title with GTM specialist next to their name that are absolutely freaking clueless about the heart of a salesperson, how a sales team is supposed to function. And they make ivory tower marketing decisions, or they talk in coded language for Wall Street analysts about the revenue function, and they make up phrases and words. And it is so disconnected from what I've seen in my 37-year career of what works for a sales team that I finally have fed up enough, and I'm old enough, I don't need the business anymore. So I'm just going to say it.
Yes.
Like, I'm sorry. I see a lot of damaged sales cultures because the people over the sales organization, CROs without sales leadership experience, are doing things counter to sales culture health and sales success.
Yeah. Mike, I got to tell you, there is something.
I'm only a week into talking about this, so I'm still a little uncomfortable, but you can see I'm pissed off. So
this is a safe place.
This is
until you release the episode.
There's only the four of us here.
Yeah.
But Mike, I think as well, there is another side of this which reinforces what you're saying, because I've been quite controversial over the years as well in saying that there are certain people in a business stay away from sales, and yet they feel that they need to put their two pennyworth in. These are those chief revenue officers, the founders, the CEOs. And often when you talk to salespeople, when they know they're being accompanied by one of these people to a meeting, their little heart drops, because they don't know how to tell them, please don't speak, please don't say anything wrong, because you could blow this for me, because you think that you have to say all of these things. And I know you're going to do it because you keep telling me to put an extra 25 slides in my already 72 slide deck. You know, just stop. And we need to be able to support salespeople a lot more. So I totally agree with you on that. Completely agree.
And this is why I love you. Yeah, that is it. Yes.
This is why we're going. Now, Scott, I know you got a question for Mike. I've got a question coming in on a viewer as well. But before we get to it, my other question dovetails so nicely into what Simon and Mike just said. Mike, you talk about the importance of accountability and structured meetings in building a high-performing sales culture. From a leadership perspective, how do you balance driving results with creating a climate of trust and empowerment?
Oh, that's so good. I'm going to say something. I just said this to a senior leader yesterday at a very large company. These two things are not mutually exclusive. We can love and support and be empathetic and build community and be pro sales and celebrate and all the wonderful hold hands, kumbaya, feel good stuff. And at the same time, it's not mutually exclusive. It's not contradictory. We can also be laser focused on goals and results and have a kick-ass winning culture with scoreboards and rankings and celebrating success and self-policing and being hard on, results and accountability. Those two things go together. In fact, we know this, right? Top salespeople are competitive. They keep score. They love when there's transparency into results. So I think it's a false dichotomy that it's like, well, are we going to be nice and empathetic and supportive, or are we going to be like kick-ass and results oriented? My answer is yes. And the way I like to do it is I put my hands like this and I'm like, if you marry both of those forces, right? You're pro sales and you celebrate, but you're results focused and you do accountability the right way where it's not demeaning and micromanaging. Yeah. That's where you create the unstoppable sales culture. And that's the environment that top producers want to join and stay in and thrive because they want their ass kicked. My mentor, Donnie Williams, there's not a day I don't mention his name because I worked for him in the 1990s and we were business partners in the early 2000s. And he's the one that invented the thing I made famous. It's that results pipeline activity framework for doing accountability. And he understood the heart of a salesperson. And one of the things he would say all the time, and it always gets a chuckle, he would say, sales management is the fine art of where you're balancing encouraging the heart and kicking the ass. And you need to do both of those all the time. And that's really, I mean, I don't know if I'm answering your question, Rick, but that's
absolutely.
It's both. It's not or, it's and. We're going to love them to death, and we're going to celebrate them and support them and not jerk them around. But we're going to kick their ass and we're going to stick results and pipeline health under their nose. And that combo is what creates sales winners, which goes back to the thing Simon and I were talking about a minute ago, which is why the ivory tower CRO wants to talk about sales motions that doesn't understand what we're talking about is not helping drive results. And someone's got to say it, so I'll nominate myself to be the jerk.
I'll proudly stand next to you.
This is so good. Like I actually forget that I'm in this. I actually feel like I'm watching it because but here I'm gonna make another statement that I think builds on what Simon and Mike were talking about. And this is what I see is that when organizations, this isn't audible. I didn't have this question, so I'm throwing it in. When organizations don't see the results that they want, because there's a lack of understanding of sales process, sales culture, all of those things, they tend to want to do more, right? So they have this process, and I'll say it's a less than ideal process. It could use some fix up. And the result is we're not getting the results we want, so we want more. We want more meetings, more emails, more proposals, more. And I call it and I'm going to swear, the throwing the shit against the wall approach and see what'll stick. And I guess what I'm wondering is, do you see the same thing that when there is a lack of understanding of sales skills and sales process, and that's how we say it here in Canada is process.
I get it. I can say process. I can make it a logo.
Nice. Thanks for speaking the language. Is that part of what you see as well when people don't really understand culture and sales? They say, oh, well, we just need everyone to do more then. Throw more shit against the wall, and then clearly then more of it'll stick.
Yeah, it's either more activity,
yes,
because that's all they know how to manage, or it's more ideas and newfangled sales motions that, let's try something crazy because the tried and true stuff's not working. So yes, they're either over managing activity, which I understand. And like, I'm not an idiot. I'm a salesperson. Hustle works, right? You turn over more rocks, you create more opportunities. I'll even say even an average salesperson with average skills, if they're calling on the right prospective customers and the right growable customers, and they do it enough, even if they're only average, they're going to find pain. They're going to find opportunity. They'll create some opportunity. So activity is important. But if all you can do is manage activity and try to make them do more, and we're not evaluating its effectiveness, or whether we've armed those people with the messaging that works, or are they proficient at creating opportunities? Like, me and my 3 sales verbs: create, advance, close. Well, if we have sellers that can't create, regardless of the volume of activity, something's got to be fixed there.
Yeah.
Right. So yes, activity is not the be all and end all.
Right.
But the other thing is the impatience. I was with 2 different big tech companies last year with incredibly impatient C-suites, with very driven, that one founder brought in a brand new hard charging CEO that turned over and everything was initiatives and super micromanagement.
Yeah.
And they paid me a lot of money to do what I do, help sales managers get better at accountability and coaching and talent management. And the feedback I got after 3 months from the managers was, we never get to do what you're teaching us, Mike, because every week they send us a new initiative with a new spreadsheet and a new idea they want us to chase down to try to drive the business. So the C-suite was distracting and diverting the sales managers from executing on the high payoff activities that they paid me a lot of money to help them master. So like, what do you want?
Yeah.
Like, where is it? It's the lack of patience. It's the short-term vision. It's the inconsistency that's got sales managers and execs pulling their hair out.
But then it's at that point that you have to walk away, don't you? Because you get to a point where you think, you're paying me to do this, but you're not actually doing it. You just think it's going to magically happen. And this quality over quantity is nonsense, because you do have to deliver quality, but you can't do it with the same mindset as the quantity. You've got to change the mindset. So it's important there. I noticed that someone I know very well, Liliana Mitchell, has posted a question to you, Mike. Lily is someone I know very, very well, and I've worked with for quite a while. And I know she's very, very excited to have you on and ask a question. So, Lily, go ahead. She's saying, if you were starting as a first-time sales manager, what would you do differently in your first 30 days, Mike?
Great question, Lily.
Yeah, Lily, nice to meet you, Liliana, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to visit. And if you're a friend of Simon's, then consider us friends.
Boom.
If you're asking me what I would do differently, I would go slow. I would go much slower. Kind of like in sales, sometimes we need to slow down our sales process to speed up the sale. We need to check more boxes. We need to check more boxes, meet more people, do better discovery, prepare ourselves before we start presenting and proposing prematurely. I would apply that same wisdom to us in leadership, particularly how I approached it. And I would talk less and preach less and teach less, and I would listen more. And I would go on more sales calls, and I would sit down with more sales reps and ask about their business plans and why they've been successful or where they're struggling. And I would let what I did in my observation tour better inform and guide where I would then drive the business forward. And not to do a shameless pitch for this particular book, but
do it.
Brought up. There's an entire chapter here about how to slow down in as you're starting as a sales manager. And I quote some incredible leaders. Oh, look at you guys with the graphics. Very impressive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
My friend, Dennis Sorensen, who's become a dear, trusted colleague. He was a client. Now he's a business partner in some ways. And he's got an incredible consulting firm doing great work. There's a whole page of his wisdom about how to spool up as a sales manager by going slow and going on a listening tour first. And then I interviewed another friend, Drew Ellis, who works for SAP, brilliant sales leader. And he talked about planning on the front end and really getting yourself grounded and understanding your priorities before you start launching all kinds of initiatives. So I would have gone in slower with less guns blazing when I took over the sales team if I knew then what I know now.
That's great advice.
That's great advice. It's interesting because honestly, sometimes the C-suite doesn't see that as a value-driven activity because they just want results quickly.
Yep.
So therefore, we've got to be able to deliver value within that whole investigation, slowing down piece, haven't we?
Boy, there's some maturity in the way you just said that, Simon. I mean, think about the situation, right? They have a new leader in place because something wasn't working. Right? The last person wasn't succeeding. There's a problem. And I dare say it might even be a little broken. And you bring the new person in because you believe in them. They're the right talent. They have the right experience. They're going to do good work. And then instead of letting them do what they need to, which would be learning and observing, we pressure them to create results immediately, as if like overnight, because you changed a body in the sales manager, we're going to start filling the funnel and closing deals tomorrow. Like that. It's a fantasy. It's not living in reality.
Yeah.
And part of this, and it's what I've seen. Anyone in sales management is exhausted. I mean, it has been a really long 5 years. I say this Like you go back to the incredible business economy we had, in the 2018, 2019, everything was great, was booming. We're all working, we're getting fundamentals great. And then everything seems like it happened in the last 5 years. COVID and significant wars and political instability, the nuttiness with the elections. I'm the only American in this meeting, right? The craziness in my own country, which I am not proud of. And I don't reveal where I stand politically. And I don't even feel like I have a party or a side anymore because I'm so confused by our own politics. And apologies to the disrespect to my two friends in this meeting to the north. I'm a big fan of your country and apologize for the lack of respect we may have demonstrated to you over the last year. So when you add the politics and the wars and COVID, and then the boom in the middle of COVID with the economy and selling out and supply chain, and then inflation, and then interest rates going up, and then the slowdown, and then now lay on top of that the cloud of AI over everything. When you add up all the things I just said, politics, wars, COVID, shutdown, speed up, supply chain, interest rate, AI. What the hell? Like, who's not tired or confused?
It's been a big ask for leaders.
It is. Everyone is tired. And then you have all the pressure and initiatives of the day. And I'm like, can we all just breathe and go back to the things that we know work? And
but can we also just, I just think we should go back to another fundamental here, though, because despite all of those things happening, we have to get the recruitment of the people in our teams right. And a lot of the time when we see people being recruited, they are being recruited to old job descriptions, old job specifications, old things that the person who's doing the job before was working towards, or even the person who was before them. And we need to make sure that what we're recruiting for actually resembles the job that's being done. So if we've got all these changes, politically, supply chains, AI, we need to make sure we're recruiting for people who can genuinely come in with that understanding. No one's going to hit the ground running, but we need to be able to get that fundamental right.
Oh, can I just say this? I'm going to take over for a second. Triple exclamation mark. Because Simon, I want to push this back. What you just said is what I'm seeing real life in my clients today. And I'm going to add one thing to what you talked. I love what you're talking about, job descriptions and finding the right people, because here's what I'm seeing. Add on the economic headwinds that we're selling into today. I have clients, particularly like in software as a service, where their whole model was built on inbound marketing and responding to leads. And they didn't have outbound focus. And today we have salespeople who thrived 3-4 years ago when inbound marketing and the leads were so abundant. You could fill the funnel and make President's Club without ever having to go proactive and do outreach. And in those very same companies today, the same people who were thriving are failing.
Yep.
And part of the hard conversation I'm having with these executives is I'm holding up the mirror and go, can you rewrite the job description today that includes things like prospecting and outbound? Because if you keep hiring these inbound minded people who thrived in that environment, that's not working. I've got a staffing this giant staffing organization I'm doing all kinds of consulting and teaching with. When it was hard to get employees and there were lots of job orders to be filled in, a couple of years ago, they were all thriving on an inbound motion. And today it's not working. And I'm like, so you have people on the job that are not wired to do the job that's required today. So Simon, I salute you for bringing this up, because it's heavy lifting. This is actually not easy sales management if you don't have the right people.
This is the single biggest thing I'm seeing actually in my area is so many organizations were surviving on inbound and word of mouth and referrals. And in the last couple of years that shifted. They're like, no, we have a whole, for lack of a better term, we have a whole team full of farmers. And we don't even know how to hunt. And this is brand new for us. I had a client that I was working with. I was out to see them earlier this week, did a coaching call with a guy, and he said to me, I have never closed a deal from following up. We're so busy quoting and chasing around quotes that we don't even have time to do follow-up. And I said, let me sit with this for a second, because I've never heard that in my entire life of an organization that's had so much coming in that they don't even have time to do follow-up. So they've never closed deals by doing traditional, just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I'm sensing that as we run out of time here, that we need to have Mike back on this show. This has been so incredible.
I think he's been okay. I think he's been
so much sharing. It's incredible. So let's see what we can do here for a minute.
And now the moment you've all been waiting for. It's time for Ricky's recap. Take it away, Ricky.
Well, this has been an incredible opportunity in speaking with Mike. Here's a recap. Sales and leaders have been through so much. C-suite needs to get out of the way of sales leaders and salespeople. Leaders, give your people the platform. Low ego for sales leaders is a must. Leaders need to create an unstoppable sales culture. This bridges tactical leadership with emotional intelligence. Hustle works. Activity is still important. New sales leaders should slow down to speed up. Create, advance, and then close. Encouraging the heart and kicking the ass. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been an incredible SalesSLAP.
Oh my goodness,
with Mike Weinberg. There's so much in this. Mike, thank you for being on the show, buddy.
Yes,
where can people get a hold of you and your books and everything that's great?
MikeWeinberg.com is a good place to start. The books are in most resellers. And I just want to say thank you. Thanks for slapping me around today. Thanks for the energy. The maturity and the wisdom of what you guys are all sharing and dealing with is energizing.
Maturity.
And, I wasn't talking to you, Scott. I was talking to you guys.
That's fair.
That's
yeah.
fine.
This is so good. And
thanks for getting there before we had to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I love your all relationship with each other.
Simon, no, listen, I'm not going to recap Ricky's recap because he nailed it. But this has been a highlight. When you finally agreed to come on because of Simon, I was like so excited. And you're just nailing all the top hits that you've always nailed. And I guess maybe I'll ask you one little question as we wrap this up.
Sure.
Yeah, I know you're busy. You travel a lot. What's Mike Weinberg doing over the holidays to slow down and really? Because I'm thinking about. I saw your sabbatical takeaways. I was preparing for this
a couple years ago now,
and I was just wondering, what are you doing to really sort of slow down and enjoy your well-deserved time off?
I have kids coming in from far away cities, and
Nice.
Which would be really nice. And I will not do a ton of work over the holidays. I got a little bit of work like on the 22nd, and then after Christmas, kind of got to do wrap up the year, some accounting and just putting things together because sales kickoff season is around the corner. Yeah. But I am going to work hard on my email addiction. Somehow I got re-addicted to email and being just constantly checking and connected, and it's not fun.
I think we could all learn from that, Mike.
Yeah.
Mike, thanks for being on the show today. I want to thank all our viewers from the past year as well. And I know on behalf of myself and co-hosts Scott and Simon, and I'm sure Mike too, we want to wish you a happy holiday, a Merry Christmas to everybody, and happy selling in 2026.
For attending the SalesSLAP podcast, feel free to reach out to your hosts, Rick, Simon, and Scott, and our guests from this episode for
Mike
more
Weinberg.
information. We look forward to seeing you next time.